Greetings, Commanderie de Bordeaux aux États-Unis. I am your Grand Maître, Eric Vogt, and that's why I carry this golden scepter on official occasions like this. I'm especially excited about this session, and I am also thrilled to have such an amazingly capable team. As I introduce the members of the team, please unmute and speak up so that we can see your face clearly. First, there's the Meister on the Zoom, Tim Jerome. Can you say hi to everyone, Tim?
Hi there. Glad everyone's here today.
Well done. Then there's the magician in New Orleans, our importer, Scott Levy, who makes this all happen by taking pallets from Bordeaux, breaking them into the pieces for each commanderie, and then sending them to the commanderies where we split up the samples. And I think some of them actually arrived this time. So congratulations, Scott. Where are you?
I'm here. Yeah, I think unfortunately the last package got there yesterday around noon.
Oh
So
wow,
other
good
than
job.
that, everything arrived several days ago, not the beginning of the week.
Excellent, excellent. There's our program manager, Jennifer, who's just a magician in putting together all the logistics of this, the timing of this, the database, the tickets. All of that is handled very, very efficiently by Jennifer, and we say thank you to Jennifer. Are you there?
I'm here. Hello, everyone. Yes, I'm the one that bombards everyone with the emails.
Oh, that Jennifer. Okay.
That's me.
It's my intense pleasure to introduce Edouard and Kelly MOUEIX. I met them maybe, oh gee, 10, 12 years ago. And I had the opportunity to not only to meet Edouard actually before he met Kelly, and then I had the opportunity to listen to Kelly tell the story about when they met. Kelly was working in Paris. She came to Bordeaux with friends for the weekend, and she was sitting in a party, and Edouard walked in, and she said to herself, "Well, hello there." And the rest is history.
That's pretty close to the truth. Pretty close.
I'm actually the one who said hello there. Good evening, everyone. I'm absolutely thrilled to be with you tonight and to share that presentation with my wife. So at least you'll have the proper accent for once and not my pitiful French accent. We've put a little video with my father together to introduce our idea of a very good wine, and it's an introduction about my grandfather as well. So we'll listen to that little video, which is in French, but there are subtitles, and then we'll start the tasting afterwards.
Mon père était un visionnaire. Mon père avait compris que le vin devait séduire et séduire dès sa jeunesse. C'est pour ça qu'il s'est intéressé à Pomerol et qu'il avait en quelque sorte prévu que Pomerol aurait un succès extraordinaire par la séduction dont Pomerol fait part dès sa jeunesse.
C'était un homme qui aimait boire du vin. Il avait une réelle passion pour les vins plaisir. Et donc, que ce soit pour la partie des étiquettes privées ou des vins que nous achetons et que nous distribuons, ou alors nos propres vignobles, c'est ce plaisir que l'on essaye de toujours transmettre. Tous les vins que nous achetons sont dégustés, appréciés, consommés pour la plupart. Tous les vins que nous distribuons sont achetés au château, ils n'ont pas voyagé pour offrir une qualité parfaite aux consommateurs. L'homme sans le grand sol et le climat adapté n'est rien.
La balance permanente entre l'argile et la grave. Donc, le côté grave qui donne ces vins chaleureux, souples, et l'argile qui donne la profondeur, la générosité, la puissance, donne des équilibres fascinants.
Le château Bel-Hermenange est un cru historiquement exceptionnel.
Et dès 2008, où nous l'achetâmes, les vins ont révélé cette finesse fabuleuse, cette complexité, cette minéralité. Voilà, c'est un vin de potentiel fabuleux. On s'aperçoit que les grands vins ont la particularité, et ce sont les seuls, je le dis bien, d'être bons partout. Et je le compare aux individus. Finalement, un individu qui a de la culture, qui a un peu d'éducation, si possible, peut s'adapter à toutes les circonstances.
Le grand vin saura attirer l'attention sans dominer. Ça doit être un accompagnateur. En plus de savoir voyager, un grand vin doit faire voyager.
Qu'est-ce qui est le plus important pour faire un grand vin? Eh bien, je dis c'est l'amour, finalement. C'est l'amour le plus important. Comme partout.
So as you can see, everything is about love. Well, it was a very short little summary, but as Commander of Bordeaux, I'm sure all of you, if not all of you, most of you have been to Bordeaux, and so we are nestled on the right bank in Saint-Émilion. We actually are right now sitting in a limestone cave, as you can see from the wall behind us. It's not a wall; it's actually the rock. We are very fortunate to have, thanks to that limestone, very hilly environments, and it's those hilly environments which make the greatness of the terroir, the soil mixed with the climate we have. We are right now sitting in our house at Bel-Air-Monange. Some of you actually have been here as well. It's a property that carries perfectly its name, Bel Air, beautiful air. There's always a little draft. It's always gently bathed by a breeze, which allows the grapes to mature in a protected environment, and it freshens the atmosphere when it's too hot, and it warms up the atmosphere when it's too cold. Therefore, during the last period of frost, which we had a little over a month ago, we were very active in the vineyard of Pomerol, but not in Saint-Émilion, because it's a property that doesn't freeze. It's quite fascinating. I know you've all poured the wines, and if you haven't, it's a good time to do it. You've all poured the wines in your glasses. They need to breathe a little bit. They've been bottled in those tiny wits, and so it's time to free them, and then we'll start tasting. And I'll be very happy to have your comment. I'll be very happy to answer your questions along the way. We have nothing planned tonight. Our daughter is at the second part of her dance show, and our son is jumping somewhere. He might stop by to say hi, but we'll concentrate on our other babies, which are those beautiful bottles of wine. Et voilà. So that image is actually quite important for us, because this is the location where my grandfather started his company in 1937. He understood very quickly the importance of controlling, of course, the distribution, but also the production. And so in 1950, he purchased his first vineyard, and his first vineyard is La Fleur Petrus, which we will have tonight. Then after, in 52, he bought Chateau Magdeleine. In 53, he bought Chateau Trotanois and Lagrange as well. In 62, he took the farming of La Tour à Pomerol, and in 70, my father joined the company. Actually, when I used to live in the States, I used to always start my presentation by saying I'm a peasant. With my French accent. At the end of the tastings, all the people who were organizing the tasting said, "No, you cannot say that, Monsieur MOUEIX. It's impossible. It's not a good presentation of yourself, etc." But that's what we are. We are farmers. I've changed my vocabulary now, but we are farmers. And those of you who have been here, and I hope we'll meet many of you here in Pomerol and Saint-Émilion in the coming years. it's all about farming. We are lucky to live in pretty environment, but we don't have the big castles. We have simple houses, and we spend our days in the vineyard pampering our vines, and that's the key part. My father is very much in love with the production of wine. That's what that's what takes him out of bed every morning, and still today his best time of the year is in the summer when he can be with all the teams of vineyard workers to pamper, to green harvest, to leaf pluck, all those tiny little vines. He used to say, when many of you have met him, and many of you have met him in Pomerol specifically, he used to say that he knew every single vine of the vineyard of Petrus, because, as you know, he ran Petrus from 1970 until 2009. And I can say that he most probably knows every single vine that we have today in Pomerol, in Saint-Emilion, and in California at Dominus and Ulysses. He started Dominus in 1983, as many of you might know. Then in 1999, he purchased Hosanna. I joined the company, but since I was, everyone was waiting for me with great impatience, I had to find something to do. So I concentrated on developing the Negos company, and I haven't put it on that timetable, but in 2005 we bought a vineyard called La Providence. In 2011 we bought a vineyard called Guillot, but both those vineyards we included in La Fleur Petrus. In 2008 we purchased Bel Air, which we immediately renamed Bel Air Monange as an homage to my great-grandmother, who was the first woman of the family to arrive in the region in 1931, and without her, we wouldn't be here. And her maiden name was Monange, which means my angel in French, which was a beautiful name. And we wanted to add another name to Bel Air, because just in Bordeaux, actually, there's 124 Bel Air. And you even have Bel Airs in California, and a few princes to go with it. In 2008 as well, we purchased a vineyard called the Schmidt Ranch in Oakville, which we renamed Ulysses, and the first vintage released was 2012. I invite you to taste this wine if you haven't yet. It's a beautiful, beautiful wine, much more refined than Dominus. Dominus is full of power. It's quite a broad, muscular wine. Ulysses is much more elegant, much more delicate, and the grain of tannins is absolutely stunning. And then coming back to France, in our latest purchase in 2017 is Clos la Madeleine, which is a tiny little vineyard just neighboring our house. Which we've done quite a lot of work on. And funnily enough, the very last purchase that we've made was Chateau La Fleur Gazin last year in July 2021, which is a beautiful little property in Pomerol, which we purchased after having been farmers for many years, since 1976. In 2012, we merged Bel Air and Magdeleine together, in order to create an entity which I will show you on a map later makes total sense. And thanks to that, we have a perfect balance of the three dominating terroirs of the appellation of Saint-Emilion, and which makes that vineyard quite a unique vineyard. So, but I'll explain that to you. I know I haven't made many friends by doing that, but there's still beautiful bottles of Magdeleine around. It's just there is no more being produced. So if we move to Bel Air Monange, so Bel Air Monange, one of the important elements is that it's the highest point of the limestone plateau of Saint-Emilion, as you can see on that picture. It's 88 meters high. Many people thought that it was the plateau of Ozone for many years. but luckily for us, it's not. It's an absolutely amazing part of the appellation of Saint-Emilion, of the right bank and of Bordeaux as well, because you have that beautiful hill that sort of goes up and then dives, which is on quarries. As you can see, there's you can see the thin layer of limestone, which is just below the vines. There's almost no soil for the vine to develop its rootstock. It's maximum 45-50 centimeters. And so it really creates a unique environment. But if I move to the next slide, which is the map of the vineyard. So what you have in green here, it's actually Clos-la-Madeleine. But in red on the right, it's Bel Air, and in red on the left, it's Magdeleine. To make it simple, in fact, within Magdeleine, you had quite a few parcels of Bel Air also.
So all the red is Bel Air Monange now.
Yes.
Yeah, just to make that clear.
But what's interesting is you have, out of the 23.5 hectares that Bel Air Monange represents today, you have 7.5 hectares, which are that highest point of the limestone plateau, the highest point being, do you see the arrow on my arrow on, yes, you do, well, that's perfect. So it's where the arrow is actually where the highest point is, and which is where is located the oldest parcel of the vineyard today. It was planted in 1932. But when we purchased the vineyard, this parcel here and that big parcel here were both planted in this one in 1897 and this one in 1903. So we had 110, 115 years old vines on that plateau that were a fantastic base for massal selection, which now we have replanted on the very same parcels, younger vines, of course, because they were a little too old, to be honest. But we have, thanks to that massal selection, vines which were planted right after the phylloxera crisis, and which have muted within those 100 years and adapted to that very same environment. And
survived the period when there was the huge frost.
And survived the frost, exactly, thanks to the location, that breeze I was talking about. The frost of 1956 didn't damage the vineyard of Bel Air. So 7.5 hectares for that plateau. And then we have what we call the terraces, which is that horseshoe shape on the left, and that part here around our house, which is right there, where it's a little lower. We're 80 meters high. It's a very, very gentle slope facing south. A meter of soil over the limestone, so a little deeper soil for the root system to establish itself. Still that very strong limestone impact, still that breeze, but where the high plateau will bring the minerality, the delicacy and that beautiful grain of tannins on those parcels. You will get the tension, you will get the acidity, you will get the life in the wine, and you will as well get that superficial flesh. And that's when we come to that picture. That's the limestone at Astéry, as we call it. So it's a huge block of limestone. It's not rocks. It's a hill of limestone with degraded clay on top of it. As I said, 45-50 centimeters. And as you can see, the limestone is very dense. There's no cracks. So actually, the roots of the vines do not penetrate the limestone. There's 4.5 meters of pure, deep, hard limestone under the root system, and the vines only have those 45 centimeters to 50 centimeters to establish its root system, and it lives solely from what the limestone allows the vine to give back or to suck away. In a vintage like 2021, where we had a wet and cool spring and summer, the limestone was sucking all the water and not giving it back. Where in a vintage like 2015, the limestone, according to the atmospheric pressure, by retrocapillarity, will give back a certain amount of humidity to the vine, allowing the vine not to stress or not to go through a stress that's too hard, which we can find in Pomerol quite regularly. And then on the right, it's the blue clay that we have on the south-facing slopes. So it's about 1.5 meters of blue clay, very, very dense, as you can see. And then you have the limestone again, but the vines, the root system doesn't go all the way to the limestone, because the clay is so thick that it forbids the roots to go deeper. But being so thick as well, and despite the slope, it retains a lot of water, a lot of humidity, and it allows the vines not to fry in the summer, despite being facing full south. So when we have very, very hot days, it can be quite complicated, as you can imagine. And then that gentle breeze coming up from the valley, from the Dordogne Valley, and caressing the vines adds an element of freshness as well for the vines. The 2015 vintage is almost a perfect vintage for us, because we had a naturally wet winter, but not too wet. And unlike what we've seen in the last few vintages, 2018, 2020, 21, the spring was also quite warm and dry. That slide is it's just to show you the 3 wines that we produce on the vineyard. So Bel Air Monange is the first wine. Of course, it's more than 50% of our total production. Yes, Jenny.
Do you have a favorite vintage of the Bel Air Monange?
The favorite vintage?
Yes.
Not yet.
Too young.
No,
We're
no.
drinking mostly the 9 and 10 right now.
The 9 is very soft and elegant and generous and refined. The 2010 has a slightly bigger structure and a nice energy, which are the vintages which we can enjoy the most today. We've been serving quite a few 2012. I'm a big fan of the 12s, especially on the right bank. Bel Air Monange 12, La Fleur Pétrus 12 are really, really nice bottles. It's a little young, I agree, but sometimes youth is beautiful as well.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been enjoying quite a few cases in the last few months. So that's the production. Annonce, it's just a very small production label. It's only the parcels, it's the lots, actually not the parcels, the lots at the time of the blending that don't make it into the first wine, which are almost into the first wine, but not yet. And then the Roc Blancan is the proper second labels with slightly younger vines, or vines which are too old for a given vintage that needs to be a little more agile on the vine side. The proper second label.
Rick Shepro in Chicago is asking about some of the angels that are on the labels.
Yes.
And the Annonce looks like the Gabriel angel.
Exactly.
And is that intentional, and are they intended to be different?
So yes, it's totally intentional. So the first angel, Bel Air Monange, is it comes from an Albrecht Dürer print, which one of the print is actually just behind us now,
I can maybe show it.
Yeah, okay.
never mind.
Okay, and it's the angel Gabriel, which is announcing to Joachim that his wife, who's 69 years old, will have a baby, and that baby is the Virgin Mary. So it's a very important part of our religion, and we wanted to keep that tradition of the right bank of Bordeaux to actually to be so linked with the religion. And for many years until the revolution, the village of Saint-Emilion itself was managed by a group of people which were represented by half the church, half the bourgeois of the town, and so having that link with our religious origin was extremely important for us. So it's an Albrecht Dürer drawing print, and then for the second wine with the name Annonce, it's announcing the first wine. As I said, it's a selection which is a very refined selection, and if you can find the Annonce 2015, I invite you to get some and to drink it.
We drank it all.
I couldn't help you because we drank it all. So we had to move to the 16, but the 15 is it's an exceptional wine. We have nothing to do with it; it's just luck. But and so again, it's an angel from Albrecht Dürer, and we sort of love that long trumpet announcing something, and of course it's announcing the birth of Jesus, and so two very important part of the Catholic religion, and then the third label is very simply our house, as I said. Voilà.
Our house, yeah, we live currently at Belle-Monange. We moved in 2012. We lived previously at La Fer-Petrus, so that will be a good introduction to the next part. But that's where
Afterwards, yeah.
Edward and I met, and we lived there previously. But we live in Bel-Air since Belle-Monange since 2012, which I think goes back a little bit to what you were saying in the video about great wines. And I think there's something really special for us to be able to live here and to raise our family here and bring so much love to the property. So much love that we are like in renovation since 2008 and going on into infinity and time, because there was the underground to reinforce. We had to renew the vines. We renovated the house, the vineyards, the buildings, the outbuildings. Now we're building a new winery. So it's a big story of love and investment, and that, I think that's really great for us and for our family in Saint-Emilion.
In the renovation, one of the important elements as well, which goes back to the global warming question, we house all of vineyard workers, not all of them, most of them, 95% of the vineyard workers in Pomerol and Saint-Emilion that work for us are housed. And it allows them, they're housed on the property. Our son right now is having dinner with the son of one of our vineyard employees. And in vintages, in complicated vintages like last year, to be able to be as reactive as possible is the key in order to fight the various attacks of mushrooms such as mildew. Mildew being the biggest problem today in Bordeaux. So,
Edouard, hi, this is Eric. I'd love to have you dive into the taste of these three wines.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I was going to do. So,
okay, great.
I mean, these are young wines, obviously, and as much as in the States you love to drink your American wines too young, sometimes you love to drink your Bordeaux wines a little too old, if I may. But no. The 2015, it's a generous vintage. And what we had to do was really control the maturity of the fruit, not to get prune notes. And I think that's very clear on the nose of the Bel Air Monange. We are more on the black fruits, the black cherries, very sort of blackberries as well, which for a wine of that age is quite unusual to still have that much fruit, that intensity of the fruit aromas. And we can see still also some gentle sort of flower notes, violet notes, sweet roses, which sort of nestle in the fruit aromas. And personally, I mean, maybe it's a little different for you, but I don't smell any truffle yet. I don't smell any tobacco. It might be a little more chocolate, dark chocolate, slightly, but very, very slightly. And then on the palate, what prevails is the freshness. And in a vintage where we've had so much sun, to have that freshness, it's very much the work of the limestone. You have a grain of tannin which is which you can taste on your tongue, but that's the shape of the tannins from the limestone. You can almost taste the limestone itself. But what's interesting as a feeling is it doesn't dry your cheeks. So it's not over-extracted tannins. It's not rustic tannins. It's that beautiful grain that stays in the center of your mouth and that holds all the elements together. There's no holes in the wine. There's a gentle acceleration. It's not violent. It's quite delicate. And at the end, there's a hint of bitterness, which personally I like a lot. And I was referring on the nose to slightly dark chocolate, and for me it goes with the aromas of chocolate. It's that bitterness of the chocolate that will, in its evolution, turn into sort of a sweet tobacco cigar notes. It's a very elegant wine at the same time. There's you can sense that it's a vintage where the fruit was ripe, but you don't feel the alcohol. The alcohol acts more as a blanket around everything, around the structure. There's no burning part to it, which in a sense might be I mean, we have to see them with a little bit of age, but that's the element which disturbs me a little bit with our 2018. It's not the subject tonight, but in 18, the sun was so intense, the sunniest summer we've had in the last 70 years in Bordeaux, that there's a slightly lack of balance with the alcohol, but with age it might blend in. But going back to the 15, the great surprise for me, or surprise, I mean, the great element for me is the fact that we don't sense the alcohol. Our wine, my Eurocave is set at 14 degrees Celsius. So I took it out almost an hour and a half ago. So the wine is probably right now at 18 degrees, and that's the perfect temperature. You can say it in Fahrenheit. I'm very bad in Fahrenheit, but for me it's the perfect temperature. But that's elegancy is very much the definition of the wine, and what I'm quite happy about is it's the first vintage with the new vines of the plateau, the new replantations start of the plateau started to produce in 2015, and that fruit was so pretty, so delicate, so elegant, with that beautiful baby fat that we actually put it into the first wine. And I think it helped a lot, because the core of the wine comes from the south-facing slope, and therefore it's almost a Pomerol-like wine. But that freshness comes from that higher point of the plateau.
I think everyone is really interested to hear how this wine compares to the Lafleur Petrus tasting, the taste and the terroir of that.
So that's Pomerol. I mean, it's not all of Pomerol. It's in green. It's the parcel we own, and the rest is the plateau and the western part of the plateau. So Pomerol, as you know, it's just below 800 hectares. It's the smallest appellation in Bordeaux, and out of those 800 hectares, you have 200 which are the plateau. Our definition of the plateau is 30 meters and higher, so between 30 and 40 meters. The definition of the guy who's at 25 meters high is, of course, 25 meters and higher. But the great thing in Pomerol is there's no classification and there's no definition of anything. So we are all free to sort of define what we feel is the true expression of our property. So if we move to Lafleur Petrus, so Lafleur Petrus, as we did in 2012 for Bel Air Monange, blending, merging Magdeleine and Bel Air Monange. In 2012, we did the same thing for Lafleur Petrus, where the original Lafleur Petrus was here, here and there. So these were the parcels of Lafleur Petrus, and we added Providence here and Guillot in 2012. That's Lafleur Petrus since 2012, and it's a great representation of the three style of gravelly soils that we have on the plateau of Pomerol. Because Petrus is mainly clay, everybody mentions it's clay. Oh, I have clay. Even the guys in La Lande de Pomerol, which are north of that parcel, but if you fly straight, it's very near. They have clay because they are 500 meters away from Petrus. But the reality is the dominating soil of the plateau of Pomerol, it's actually gravel, pure gravel. Here, gravel and loam here, and gravel and clay here, and depending on the area, you have largest pebbles like this one. That's actually a picture that has been taken in Trotanois because it's the best example of the pebbles, or pure clay, as you can see on the right. Again, that blue clay that is very typical of that part of the world. And the pebbles bring by the warmth that the vine throughout its maturing cycle, the heat of the sun during the day and the heat of the soil during the night, will have a very gentle and delicate maturing cycle, where the clay, which is a cooler soil, the vines have to suffer. They have to grow deeper their root system in the summer in order to reach the humidity that is stuck at the bottom of that layer of clay. And by doing that, they have to make an extra effort, and they produce wines with more verticality, with more concentration. So that's the vineyard. So that's the varietal on the property. So 91% Merlot, 6 Cabernet Franc, very old Cabernet Franc, which date back from 1957, so just after the frost of 1956. And 3% of Petit Verdot on the vineyard. In the blend, it's more 0.5% that goes into the wine. It's a very powerful, spicy grape variety, and when it's too much, it's overwhelming. So well, there you go. The blend of 2015, 92% Merlot, 7.5% Cabernet Franc. The Cabernet Franc thrived in 2015. It was a very long harvest in 15. We started the harvest on the 11th of September, and we finished on the 30th. So very, very long harvest, but the ripening was beautiful, was slow. We had a cooler month of September, which saved as well the alcohol level. And having a cooler month of September, the vine were gorged with the sun of the summer, and they finished their maturity very gently, very Kately, and therefore it was almost a harvest like the harvest we have in California, where it's not ripe today, it's fine, we can wait tomorrow. Where normally in Bordeaux we play chess with storms during the harvest. But it was a wonderful harvest, slightly cooler, a few showers here and there, but keeping the activity of the vines on, and therefore having that freshness, which we saw in Belle-Monange, and that we can see in the La Fleur Pétrus as well. If you drink, or if you, taste your La Fleur Pétrus 2015, what's amazing on the nose, it's the explosion of darker fruit, of licorice. It's much more intense than Belle-Monange, which had Belle-Monange, I didn't mention it, but had a few raspberries as well, slightly redder fruits, where here it's pure dark notes. There's a slight, at the same time, mintiness. There's a layer of mintiness in the back nose of the wine, which is a very important molecule that Merlot develops. Normally, it's a molecule that becomes more obvious when the Merlots get much older. Trotanois 90, which you might have in your cellar, on the nose and on the palate, you have that slight mintiness, which is quite amazing. And it's quite rare to have it at such a young age. Much richer. You don't have that acceleration, that gentle acceleration that we had on Belle-Monange. Here, immediately the muscles are in front of you. It's a big wine. There's a lot of flesh. The tannic structure is present, but is not drying either. It's not overwhelming. It's very well wrapped into the elements. Alcohol made possible that size of tannins, that amount of tannins for a Merlot. We have to keep in mind this is Merlot. Normally there's much less tannins in Merlot, but here with that beautiful sun and ripeness that we managed to have, we could go a little further in the extraction. We are gentle people when we extract. For us, a little further in the extraction is 23 days against 21 days.
It's not a formula every year.
No, it's not a formula, but normally we are around 21 days. A strong extraction is 23 days. A lighter extraction is 18 days. Voilà, that's roughly where we play. It depends on the time of the vinification, but many people, and I don't want to direct to show anyone, but many people in terms of extraction of skin contact go all the way up to 40-45 days. So we are extremely light. Once the alcoholic fermentation is over, which usually happens after between the 9th and 12th day of the fermentation, then we go to maximum an extra 10 days. As you understand, which allows us to extract the tannins of the skin. But in 2015, we also extracted a few tannins of the skin, of the seed. Sorry. Very often we try not to extract tannins of the seeds because either the summer didn't allow them to get full ripeness, or the summer didn't allow them. The summer was too hot and the vine blocked, and therefore the maturity of the seeds didn't go all the way. But in 2015, with that slightly cooler and wetter month of September, those tannins managed to reach a certain level, and you almost have the sensation of hazelnuts. And for me, it's when the tannins of the seeds, when you chew a seed and it tastes like hazelnut, and you have that sensation, that's when their tannins are ripe enough. So moving to Trotanois, very dramatic picture. It gives it gives an idea of the depth of the wine. So Trotanois, it's that little block, 6.2 hectares with that little parcel here. At the moment, in full production, we have only that the square. That parcel has been replanted last year, so not yet into the blend. And Trotanois is produced with that parcel here, which is pure clay. This parcel, which is small gravel mixed with clay, and this parcel, which is big pebbles, the picture we saw earlier on top of clay. So it's very clay dominated, and we get the depth from the pure clay. We get the density from that parcel, small pebbles. I mean, small gravel and clay, and we get the richness from the pebble part. Voilà, so 100% Merlot. So purchased by my grandfather in 53, etc., etc. But going back to the wine, so it's 100% Merlot on the vineyard now. In 2015, we still had a small parcel of Cabernet Franc, which we pulled out after because we managed to bring it to the right level of maturity and complexity in 2015. But the reality is most of the vintages we didn't manage to do it, and it's an ideal soil for Merlot. That picture is actually taken on an angle where in the far back it's Merlot, this is Cabernet, and this is a perfect Merlot soil. So we replanted Merlot. We will replant, sorry, this year Merlot. So on the nose, much more austere than the two previous wines, and especially than La Fleur Pétrus. It's not showing much actually. It's a big rock. It's a big block. It's almost mineral, but more silex type of minerality. And on the palate, it's almost violent. It's way too young. It should be, if you have a case, just put it on the back shelf and forget about it. It's vibrant. It's dark notes as well. It's a pure vertical wine. You can almost taste the root system. The tannic structure is almost like a bowl in the center of your palate. Again, and a very important part, it doesn't dry your cheeks. It's key. It's not undried tannins. It just refuses to show much today. It gives you a hint of how great it will be in the future, but it's just a hint. But the beautiful element with this wine is that tannic structure, which nowadays is very much a bowl, with age will spread and become more and more feminine. And that's something which is hard to grasp because we can't talk about femininity when we taste such a wine. Sorry, I shouldn't say femininity. We're not really allowed anymore, but you see what I mean. But it will become much more elegant, much more delicate. And then the old Trotanois, as I said, the 1990 Trotanois, which in its youth tasted like this 2015, now is fresh, is almost minty. Go and find the mintiness into it right now. It's mineral in a non-limestone way. It's very much a beautiful core. It's dark. There's a little bit of fruit, and that would be blackberry. But for me, it doesn't show much more than that.
So what would be your optimum aging window? Is 25 years, the 1990 to 2015? Would that be?
So
would that apply to most vintages?
Great vintages like 15. Clearly another 10 years. I mean, 20 years for me is what Trotanois needs. The 1998, which is a great vintage in Pomerol, is just starting to open. The 2000, it depends on the day, it depends on the bottle. The 05, I love showing the 05 because I love that inkiness, but but to be honest, it's I shouldn't serve the 05 yet. I should wait for an extra 5 years.
Explain what the name means. It's kind of.
Oh yes, of course. Yes, Trotanois means trop d'ennui, too many bothers, too many problems, because that mix of clay, deep, dense clay and gravel make it a very hard soil to plow. It's plow. Sorry, thank you. It's almost impossible to plow in the summer because clay and rock and pebbles and gravel mixed together. It's like concrete. So in order to break the soil at the time when they were plowing behind a horse or an ox, it was extremely difficult. And in the winter when it's wet, it's what we call the loving soils. So you set a foot into the parcel and the soil falls in love with you and usually keeps your shoe behind. And there's another element in the name for me. I think Trotanois means trotanique. And trotanique is our fight, because I talked about extraction with La Fleur Pétrus. With Trotanois, the extraction have to be extremely delicate, because there's a natural tannic core in the wine, as we can taste, which makes it extremely difficult, or actually extremely easy to miss. If we extract an extra 2 days, then the deepest tannins come in, and the wine will never open, and it becomes a little bit like the 86 or the 75 in general in Bordeaux. Every single time we open a bottle of 75 or 70 or 1986, we say, oh, it's still too young, but will it be right one day? I'm not sure, because the wines are too tight.
Kelly and Edouard, I have to say, this has been a fabulous immersion into the soils and the wines, and I've even begun to understand why so many cases of La Fleur Pétrus have found their way into my cellar over the years. And what we're going to do now is break up for about 15 minutes into smaller groups, and you're welcome to join different groups to give us a chance to find out what people's different opinions and tastes and what they've observed, and find out if they actually learned anything in the process. Hi, John.
Just before that, thank you very much, Eric, for putting together this tasting. Jennifer, for your unbelievable organization. It's been a great process. Team as well for managing everything from behind the scene. We've done nowadays quite a few tastings on Zoom or whatever other system, but it was clearly the largest by no means, and what a fantastic organization that you had to put together to manage to reach that level of precision. So thank you very much, and congratulations.
You're very welcome. Yeah, with you as the subjects and your wines, it makes it very easy for us. What did you learn about Pomerol, guys, and what are your takeaways from this experience?
It was widely agreed that it was an extremely useful session, and we particularly appreciated out of the plethora of things that could be discussed, the ones that were discussed were very good choices, particularly the terroir involved in all these different properties, and being able to see their location on the map was a big plus. So it really was well done.
That was really good, we thought too. And also Edouard's specific descriptions of each wine, to me, were resonant. Often people start talking about things that they smell or don't smell, and it doesn't seem to fit with what I'm talking about or thinking about or smelling. And in our breakout group, we had one member of the group who had the 1990 Trotanois last night.
Oh,
and
excellent.
The 1990 Trotanois, which is the only bottle of Trotanois that I own in my whole cellar. We opened it up today, and it is a fantastic wine. Just beautiful, elegant, everything you want out of a Bordeaux. It makes you love right bank wines. Wonderful wine. Thank you.
Merci.
Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
We should ask Chuck Horn and his friends in San Francisco, who are have full bottles of all these wines, including I saw the 1990.
These wines are so fantastic. The Bel Air, for us, the Bel Air Menage was the winner. It was the one everyone resonated with. The Bel Air Menage just blew us away. The La Fleur Petrus was wonderful, floral. The Trot Noir was a bit young. It's interesting having three 2015s, but having one seem a little younger and more tannic and not quite ready yet. But then, so I figured, what the heck, I'll bring the 1990 La Fleur Petrus out of the cellar and we'll have it with our lunch out in the backyard in a few minutes.
There you go.
But these are just such fantastic wines. And Eric, thank you for mentioning that. We'll be having, our chapter is going to Bordeaux in 3 weeks. And we're having dinner at Bel Air Menage in 3 weeks.
In that very same room.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, and we're so looking forward to it.
Cheers, everyone. Thank you very much for spending that time with us. And I look forward to seeing you in person. That will be still much nicer than Zoom.
Yeah.
And have a great afternoon for those who had lunch already. Have a great lunch for those who are about to time that lunch. We'll have a quick bite, and for those coming in a few weeks from now, we're waiting for you with quite a bit of wine and a lot of good stories and a friendly environment.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Lovely, fun time.
Fun.
Fun,
Great.
fun to meet